So in this video, we're going to discuss the entire life of Rudeus Greyrat from Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. So basically, Rudeus was a 34-year-old NEET otaku in his previous life. He was born as the fourth child of 5 children in a well-off family. As he grew up, he was praised for being a bright student in elementary school. Later, when he went to junior high, he joined the computer club and saved up his allowance to assemble his very own computer. However, he was focused on tinkering on his computer so much that he neglected his studies. Then in high school, he became a victim of severe bullying that resulted in him dropping out. Once, he was in line to buy lunch when a person cut in front of him. He told the guy that he should not cut the line, but it turns out the person was an upperclassman. Then that upperclassman and his friends beat him and hung him up naked. They took and then distributed pictures of him and nicknamed him Pencil Dick. After this incident, he stopped going to high school and he even stopped coming out of his room. His family tried to encourage him to go back to school, but he brushed them off. There was one classmate whom he had a good relationship and who came by every day to deliver homework. However, he even pushed him away when he tried to get him to return to school, so he grew distant from his family and relatives. And he continued being a shut-in, and he lived off his family for 20 years. However, this toxic lifestyle finally came to an end when his parents passed away, but he even refused to attend their funeral. So him not attending his parents' funeral ended up being the last straw for his siblings. They were very angry at him and eventually they kicked him out of their family home and disowned him. Homeless and penniless, he wandered the streets aimlessly while reflecting on his life until he came across 3 high schoolers arguing on a road while a truck was coming towards them. Seeing the truck heading toward them at high speed, he mustered all of his strength to run over and he managed to push one of them away to safety. But unfortunately, this caused him to get hit instead. He was severely injured and soon after the incident, he passed away. Then, the next time he opened his eyes, he found himself reincarnated as a newborn child, and his mother and father were holding him. Realizing he had been given a second chance, he declared that he would live this new life to its fullest. So after being reborn, initially Rudeus spent the few years of his life absorbing as much knowledge as he could about the world, managing to learn both the human language and how to read it. During this time while growing up, he was greatly feared by Lilia as he was an abnormal child who didn't cry at all. When he was a baby and he used to stare at her with a perverted look and she used to feel disgusted. One of the only books that was in the house was a book on magic, so he started to practice magic in secret. After exhausting his magic power by casting water ball 3 times on the first day and then casting the same magic 6 times the next day, it was then he figured out how to raise magical power. When he was about 2, he accidentally blew a hole in the wall with an intermediate level spell, Water Cannon, which greatly shocked his parents and made them praise him. Therefore, they immediately hired a tutor, and the tutor was called Roxy. Initially, Roxy thought he wouldn't be that good and thought his parents were overselling him. However, after seeing him cast a shortened chant for Water Ball and after he comments that he usually does it voiceless, her opinion of him changed. So for the next few years, Roxy taught him the basics about magic. At the age of 5, Roxy finally taught Rudeus the Water Saint class magic spell, and Rudeus graduates from Roxy's lessons and becomes a Water Saint ranked magician. Roxy also helped him to overcome his fear of the outside world by doing what no one in his previous life was able to do. One day, he met and protected Sylphie from the bullies and started to teach her how to use magic. Then at the age of 7, after learning that Roxy has become a Water King ranked magician from one of Roxy's letters, Rudeus realizes how his own magic growth has become stagnant. So he decides that he needs to attend Renoa Magic Academy, but Sylphie overheard this and cried because she didn't want him to leave her. So he thinks about it and then decides to take her with himself to the Renoa Magic University. He asks Paul if they would let them go, and he was willing to work to earn the money since they couldn't afford to send the both of them. But Paul straight up rejected his request, and then after being knocked out by Paul, Rudeus goes to his uncle's home to be a tutor for Eris, who is his cousin. So he started tutoring Eris to make her know mathematics, science, language, and magic, and over time he succeeded to establish a good relationship with her. Then at the age of 10 on his birthday, he received Aqua Haetia, which is a very high quality magic staff. Then sometime after his birthday, he gets teleported to the magic continent with Eris. So Rudeus was one of the victims of the metastasis event, and he was teleported to Magic Continent together with Eris. And this was also the first time when he saw the human god Hitogami in his dreams, who advised him to rely on Ruigerd and help him accomplish his goal. Soon, he met Ruigerd and befriended him. Together with Ruigerd and Eris, Rudeus formed a party called Dead End. Then as adventurers, they decided to clear the Spurred race's bad reputation from this world. Soon their adventure party became well known throughout the Demon Continent, and Rudeus obtained the nickname the Owner of Dead End. Later, Rudeus met Demon Empress Kishirika and attained Demon Eye of Foresight by following Hitogami's advice. The Demon Eye of Foresight allows him to see a few seconds into the future. Then, while on the ship to the Millis Kingdom, Eris got extremely seasick and he had to take care of her, while also resisting his urge to sexually taking advantage of her in a weakened state. So, immediately after arriving from the sea voyage, he and Eris went to retrieve Ruigerd, but due to the child kidnappings by the smugglers, they could not let it go unpunished and had to rescue the beast children. Rudeus had to separate from the party so that he could rescue the sacred beast on a catechil's request while Ruigerd escorted the children to safety. Then as a result of a misunderstanding, Rudeus was incapacitated by Gaius and he was taken to the village where he was stripped naked and placed in prison. After a few days in prison, where he was kept naked, Rudeus got a new cellmate known as Geese and he greeted him in all of his full glory. Rudeus asked for Geese's fur vest since it was cold not wearing clothes. The fur vest turned out to have bugs, which he then disposed of. As Rudeus was still itchy from the bugs, he asked Geese to scratch his back for him. Soon, the village was attacked by smugglers who previously kidnapped the beast children. So Rudeus and Geese freed themselves and then Rudeus decided to help the beast people. So after being freed, Rudeus was reunited with Eris and Ruigerd and they decided to spend a few days in the village. After leaving the village and going through a sea voyage, he reunited with his father in Millis Kingdom. Their reunion was violent, but they soon made up. However, his younger sister Norn started to hate Rudeus because he had beaten up their father. Later, after arriving in Central Continent, he found out the whereabouts of his other younger sister Aisha and her mother Lilia. He rescued them and afterward encountered Dragon God Orsted. Rudeus along with Eris and Ruigerd fought together against Orsted, but they lost. Only Rudeus was able to make a small scratch on Ostred, but he almost died in the process. He was left to die by Ostred, but then Nanahoshi convinced Ostred to heal Rudeus. After their battle with Ostred, at the age of 13, he lost his virginity to Eris. After finding out what happened to Eris's family, he became her only family and spent a night with her. Afterwards, Eris left Rudeus while leaving a message saying they are not suited for each other, and it was the beginning of a misunderstanding that broke his heart and his pride as a man. And as a result, Rudeus got the problem of erectile dysfunction. Few years after Eris left him, he was known as Rudeus of Quagmire, and he was trying to spread his name to find his missing mother. He thought if he made his name known, then he might be able to find her, so his fame spread through whole Central Continent, but he had a few problems. Then Hitogami told him if he goes to Roanoa Magic Academy, it will solve his problem of erectile dysfunction, as well as he advised him to research the cause of metastasis event there. He enlisted into academy as a special student and managed to completely overwhelm Silent Fitz in his entrance exam, and he also made friends with other special students such as Zenoba, Cliff, Nanahoshi, Persena, and Rinia. Sometime after entering the Magic University, he was challenged by the Demon Lord Badigadi, but Rudeus managed to beat the Demon Lord in a duel, with one rock bullet making him the top student of Magic Academy. Soon, he began to teach Zenoba on how to create dolls, but since Zenoba did not have the magic power necessary nor the ability to use voiceless incantation, and given the problems of Zenoba's insane strength, making it difficult to have the dexterity needed to do the delicate work required to make the dolls, Rudeus decided to have Zenoba get a slave that Rudeus would then train to make the dolls. Rudeus then had Zenoba buy Julie, a dwarf girl, as a slave to learn doll making. Then after finding out that Rinia and Persena had broken the doll of Roxy, made by him in the image of his god, Rudeus hunted the two down and captured them. They were then stripped and kept that way until they repented. After some time, he discovered that Silent Fitz was a girl, and after a lot of effort from Fitz's side, Rudeus was finally able to realize that Fitz was actually Sylphie all along. Then he took her virginity after she cured him of his erectile dysfunction. After getting into a proper relationship with Sylphie, Rudeus bought a house where he was going to live with her, but the house turned out to be haunted, so he stayed in the house to eliminate the demon that haunts the house with Zenoba and Cliff, and the demon turned out to be a moving doll. So then Rudeus had the house renovated, and he along with Sylphie started living happily. One day, Rudeus received a letter from Paul, who told him that he's going to search for Zenith while Roxy is also helping him. He informs Rudeus that he sent his sisters to his place and that Rigord is acting as their bodyguard throughout their journey. Then soon, his two younger sisters moved into his house and Aisha became his maid. He had some problems with Non as she hated him initially, but those problems were soon solved. Afterwards, he found out that the rescue party for his mother encountered difficulties and he wanted to go help, but Sylphie was pregnant and the trip would have taken 2 years, so he would have missed the birth of his child. Also, the human god Hitogami warned him that he'd regret it if he went, but with encouragement from Non and Elenalise, he resolved himself to go and he ignored the human god's advice for the first time. Then luckily, before he departed, Nanahoshi gave him the Light Spirit Scrolls as well as the location for a teleportation magic circle to the Bagarito continent that could be used. He used teleportation circles to travel there extremely fast, making his trip there in 1.5 months where it could have taken him 2 years. So Rudy and Elenalise traveled to the Bagarito continent to assist Paul in rescuing Zenith. They were able to make the trip faster than normal by teleporting using a nearby ruin. There, he found and rescued Roxy using a Water Emperor class magic spell, although at the time he thought it was simply a lower class magic but more refined than others. There, he fought a Hydra that was immune to magic and was guarding his mother. As the Hydra was about to be defeated, it went on a rampage and started attacking Rudeus. Paul kicked Rudeus to save him from the Hydra's rampage, so Rudeus survived, but in exchange for his left hand and his father's life. Yes, Paul actually died while trying to protect Rudeus, and this was the most painful moment in his life in this new world. After his father's death, he finds out that his mother was incapable of talking or doing anything else as she lost her memories and expressions. Due to his depression, Roxy tried to cheer him up by getting intimate with him. But his and Roxy's romance wasn't just something casual, because Roxy was later accepted to his family as his second wife. And it was during this time when his first child, Lucy, was born. After visiting Zenoba upon his return, Rudeus gains a prosthetic arm from Zenoba research. He began to teach Non about swordsmanship and himself become a Water King class magician. Soon, he properly marries Roxy and also celebrates his sister's 10th birthday at the same time. Then, Rudeus and Nanahoshi succeeded the fourth phase of their experiment in summoning a seedless watermelon from his world. Later, he fought a Tofei while he was at the Demon Continent searching for medicine to save Nanahoshi, and he was also visited by his future self from a different timeline. He read the diary given to him by his future self, and then he was forced by Hitogami to fight Orsted, the dragon god. He was able to fight Orsted in a much more efficient way after his previous defeat, but still he was brutally defeated by Orsted. But after Orsted understands his situation, he leaves Rudeus and soon they start working together. Rudeus starts working with Orsted in order to make Ariel the queen. Then Rudeus also proposes to Eris after ending a short duel between the two and declaring he still harbored feelings for her, to which she agrees, and they consummate their marriage right that night. Later, Rudeus accompanies Ariel to the Asura Kingdom capital city, Ars, in order for her to safely become the next Asura Kingdom's queen. Then, he also buys Rinia's freedom from slave traders and has her work off her debt as a servant of the Greyrat household. Prasenna also becomes a servant of the Greyrat household in order to redeem herself after Rudeus went to the Great Forest in order to resolve the crisis of the Dorudua tribe about the disappearance of their sacred beast. He, along with Roxy and Ginger, traveled to Shirone with Zanoba to help him, after Zanoba was called back to his home to defend it from invaders. He was involved in his first war and directly killed humans with his magic. There, he fought against Death God, and later he failed to stop Pax from committing suicide, and it was during this time when his son Ars was born. Later, after returning from the war, he attends Cliff and Zenoba's graduation. He goes to the Asura Kingdom capital city with Eris, Roxy, Sylphie, and his daughter Lucy. Zenoba and Julie also traveled with him. He holds a celebration for Norn and Aisha's 15th birthday. He gives Norn a doll that he made using his magic that looks like Paul. He graduated from Renova Magic Academy and submitted the teaching method of voiceless incantation as his thesis to gain C rank in the Magic Guild. He also established a subdivision of his mercenary company, a branch office of the Zenoba shop, and factor for the production of goods in the Asura Kingdom with the help of Ariel's assistance. Then, he receives a letter from his mother's family, the Latreia house, asking for Zenith, Aisha, and Non to come to Milicion. He starts his journey to Milicion with Cliff, Aisha, and Zenith. Sylphie is now pregnant again with his second child. When Rudeus, Cliff, Aisha, and Zenith arrive in Milicion, they meet Geese after Zenith stands up in the moving carriage and points at him. They head towards Cliff's house in the religious district, and Rudeus along with Aisha give Cliff help in cleaning the house, which was very dusty. Afterwards, they ate dinner with the leftover food. Then, Rudeus takes Zenith to the Latreia house along with Aisha. He tells Aisha to sit down with Zenith while they are waiting, since they are family and Aisha should be treated as a guest as well. When his grandmother Claire arrives, he greets her, but he is ignored and Claire heads straight to see Zenith and has her physician take a look at her condition, all while ignoring Rudeus. She then angrily questions why Aisha, a mere maid, was sitting down, and then Rudeus explained that he told her to since she was his sister. Claire explained that people are treated based on their clothing and that Rudeus was ignored since many people have claimed to be her grandchild and she didn't know Rudeus. Claire then asks for Rudeus to prove his identity. Rudeus told Claire that he has brought Zenith and Aisha and that he has the letter. Since it wasn't enough proof, Claire told Rudeus that he could not be considered a member of the Latreia house with just that. Rudeus did not mind, since he was there as the head of the Greyrat household in Sharia. Rudeus explains that even though he has inherited the kinship of a large part of the 4 feudal lords of Asura, he did not have the rank of nobility. He also explained that even if he held a high rank, that bowing to his grandmother as a greeting after meeting her for the first time would be a natural thing to do. Rudeus also explains that even apart from his rank of nobility, he is personal friends with the newly crowned Asura queen Ariel and is the subordinate of dragon god Orsted, who is ranked second of the 7 major world powers. He also warned them not to make light of who he is because of his connections. After Rudeus proved his social position, Claire apologized for previously ignoring him. Rudeus told them that he has tried everything to help Zenith's condition, and Claire calls Sharia a village-like place, since compared to Melicion, it was not as advanced in healing magic. He was able to have Orsted, who knew all magic, and Perukis, who was knowledgeable in summoning magic, help him. Claire then asked about Norn, and Rudeus told Claire that Norn was currently studying in Renoa Magic University and was at the top as the student council president. Claire told Rudeus in a commanding tone to bring Norn after her graduation and that a suitable person would not be found in a backwater country like Renoa Kingdom. She said that she would choose a suitable person for her Norn's marriage. Claire's idea conflicted with Rudeus's ideology of giving Norn the freedom to pick her own path, so he told Claire that he would take responsibility for Norn to keep the peace. Rudeus answered many medical questions posed by Andel, and Aisha answered any questions that Rudeus did not have the answer to. Since Zenith appeared younger than her actual age and was still able to have children, Claire wanted to have Zenith remarry, even if she were to get many divorces. And they were essentially treating Zenith as a tool to create children and not as a person, which infuriated Rudeus. They also told Rudeus to cut his ties with Cliff, and when Rudeus would not do so, they told him to leave, but leave Zenith with the Latria house. After Claire expressed her desire to use Zenith as a tool to give birth and have her remarry, and referring to Zenith as a thing and not a person, Rudeus blanked out and all he remembers is yelling. When Aisha called out to him as if cheering him on, his mind was brought back. Claire attempted to get some guards to take Zenith, but Rudeus knocked them away and left the house with Zenith and Aisha. After coming out of Claire's house, Rudeus realized he was hungry and then decided to head back to Cliff's house. Rudeus meets Miko, who was saved by Eris long ago, and then his mother gets kidnapped by Claire. He gets attacked by the Order of the Temple, and in the confusion, he winds up kidnapping Miko. He returns to use Miko as a bargaining chip to get Zenith back. He explains his side of the story, and they sentence Claire to 10 years in prison. And while they were going to take Claire, Zenith stops them and slaps Rudeus. Miko explains Claire's side of the story, and Rudeus and the Latria family reconcile. He recruits Miko into Orsted's camp and gives her a bracelet with a dragon god symbol and a summoning scroll for a guardian, after Miko reveals to them that Zenith never actually lost her memories or her mind, and that Zenith was off dreaming since she was constantly using her power of telepathy. Later, Geese had Aisha give Rudeus a letter with Geese admitting that he has been an apostle for Hitogami the entire time, and the next time they meet, he will have properly gathered forces to defeat Rudeus. After this revelation, Rudeus ends up feeling paranoid that he might be assassinated since Geese could have easily come at him or his family with a poison knife while they were sleeping, so Eris came to guard Rudeus. Before they went back home, they visited Miko so that Miko could finally meet Eris again. Eris did not remember Miko, but Miko said that she wanted to become like Eris. So then Eris made a wood sword for Miko to practice sword swings. So when Rudeus arrives back home and he gives Lilia and the rest of the family a summary of what has happened at Melicion, Rudeus meets Zanoba and they talk about improving the magic armor. Roxy asks Rudeus if she could help with the armor, and Rudeus welcomes her help and notes to himself that if she was a part of the team, the armor could be improved 100 times better. He later meets with Orsted and they discuss about how to gather forces to defeat Geese and prevent certain powerful people from becoming enemies. So Rudeus later goes to the Oryu Kingdom and meets with Death God Randolph to recruit him, but he was turned down due to him needing to protect Benedict and Pax Jr. Using his connections, Rudeus was able to further other parts of his agenda as well, and later on, after meeting Randolph again, he was given a ring that would allow Rudeus to get a favor from Kishirika. Rudeus travels to the demon continent with Eris and Roxy to gain Atofe as an ally. Passing through the front gate peacefully, they meet with the Demon King and offer gifts of alcohol. One is a 100-year-old alcohol from the Asura kingdom given to them by Ariel, and the other is an extremely rare one that makes Atofe extremely excited. That rare alcohol, Dragon God Jewel Spirit, is a type only made by the Dragon tribe and was given to them by Orsted. The last time Atofe had her hands on the alcohol was when it was gifted to her by Urupen for her wedding with Kalman the first North god. She then had a duel with Rudeus, but Atofe surrendered after Rudeus attacked with a Gatling gun from the magic armor Mk1. After defeating Atofe, he gains the title of a hero. 2 months after recruiting Atofe, he ended up recruiting many of the other demon lords quite easily, due to them hearing about Rudeus as a hero who made Atofe surrender. Roxy requested to visit her hometown, and Rudeus took the opportunity to bring Lara as well so that they could travel to Roxy's hometown to visit Roxy's parents and tell them of their marriage. Soon, Rudeus finds Kishirika and he learns from Kishirika that Geese is in a forest. So Rudeus arranges to meet with all of his allies. He goes in a meeting where they make plans to corner Geese. Rudeus goes into the forest and finds out that there's a Spurd village hiding within it, and they are suffering from a strange illness. Soon, the Spurd's illness hastens and causes the Spurds who are sick to collapse. To find the cure, Rudeus contacts many of his allies, but he gets no help until Cliff teleports to the village and uses his demon eye to figure out what the illness is and how to cure it. In order for the subjugation to no longer go into the forest and try to fight the Spurd people, Rudeus appeals to the king, to which the king hands over 2 soldiers in order to see if what Rudeus says is true. Rudeus guides the 2 soldiers to the Spurd village, and they said that they would like to tell the king of the truth. When going back on the bridge that Rudeus made, the 2 soldiers take off their disguise rings and show who they are, Kalman III and Galfarian. They slice off both of Rudeus's arms and he falls from the bridge to where the Earth Dragon is. But Rudeus was saved by Doga, and he grew black arms from a black lump of meat that came from black box given by Atofe. He then defeats North God Kalman III and becomes one of the 7 great world powers. Then, on Ogre Island, while celebrating peace, Geese came with Bodyguardi wearing his golden armor to attack. Rudeus, with the support from friends and family, was able to get to his trump card, the MK0, and fought Bodyguardi with it. So after many more fights and some peaceful times, Rudeus Greyrat eventually passed away at age 74 in the year 481. So guys, that's all for this video, and if you enjoyed it, then make sure to subscribe.